And have there been any changes or additions to the agenda since it was published?
No changes.
All right, all those in favor of the agenda as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The agenda is approved as presented. Now we'll move on to reports to the board. And Assistant Superintendent Megan Dawson and Performance Fact will provide a strategic plan update. I don't think so.
You got, there's a button you can.
No.
Tess?
Yep.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm pleased to provide an update on our ongoing strategic planning process in partnership with Performance Fact. Especially given our current budget challenges in Tumwater, this strategic plan will help us prioritize our spending and focus our vision on the most important cornerstones of our work as educators and as an overall district. Mutu is here from Performance Fact. I'm going to have him go first because he has a flight to catch in, he has a hard stop in 30 minutes.
Okay.
And then I'll give you a little bit more context.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. It's nice to see you again. Will I be able to project my screen, Megan?
I think so. I think Becky can make you a...
Okay.
I think
Thank
you should
you.
be able to. There you go.
Okay. Let me try that now. Do you see the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for giving us some time to give you an update. I recognize that you have some very important decisions to make tonight, so I wouldn't take too much of your time. What I thought we'll do is to have me spend about 3 or 4 minutes just going through the process one more time. We shared that with you the last time we met with the board. Then give you an update on what's been done to date and spend a couple minutes talking about next steps. Overall, I want to begin by saying we've been really thoroughly impressed and are enjoying working with the district. We find Tumwater folks very good-natured. That's the phrase that my team and I came up with to describe our relationship with you. And it truly is a real honor for us to get a chance to work with you. Our work is going very well. It's moving along, quite fast, rather quickly. And within 6 to 8 weeks, I think we should be at the point where we can wrap it up. So there are 2 documents I'm going to go through. The first one is the overview PowerPoint. Let's see. Can you see my screen? The PowerPoint still?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. And just a quick reminder about what we see as our role. It's the blue circle that I want to point your attention to. We pride ourselves on being a facilitator, meaning we're here to guide, not to command or control. We have ideas we can bring to the table, but you are not obligated to accept anything we say. We just invite you to give them a fair shake and then decide on what makes the most sense for your district. This notion of being a facilitator as a guide is a centerpiece of how we approach our relationship with our clients. The why plan, it's about alignment. We want all the arrows going in the same direction towards common goals. And if we want alignment, especially of all our stakeholders, we have to involve them in putting the plan together. So the way we've done that with your approval is through a series of teams. The core planning team is the centerpiece of all the other teams. All the other teams revolve around the core planning team. It's also the most diverse of all the teams we have. It has students, it has teachers, parents, community members, administrators. So everyone, all constituent groups are represented on the core planning team. And the other teams also have diverse stakeholders, except for the 11 o'clock team, the instructional focus team. That one we reserve just for teachers and teaching. All of us have a role to play in student learning, but we feel that teachers and effective teaching are the most powerful components. So we reserve the instruction focus team as the team that's primarily responsible for shaping what we do around instruction. We've had a series of meetings or convenings since the last time we met with you. The core planning team, which has about 40 people, if I recall correctly, Megan, that's the one that's the most diverse because we have students on the team, again, teachers, parents, community folks, administrators. That team met for the first time on January 21st, all day, from 8 to 3:30, I seem to recall. And again, the next day on the 22nd. So the core planning team started with 2 full days, and then they had a half day today. The instruction focus team, which again is mostly teachers, has about 25 people. I think we had about 19 show up today. Day 2 met for 2 full days on the 27th and 28th of January. And then they met again today in the afternoon. So February 13th in the morning was the core planning team, and in the afternoon was the instruction focus team. We've also had a 2-hour session with the group we call the alignment team. Tongue-in-cheek, I describe them as the movers and shakers. So you have the police department, the fire department, governmental officials, higher ed. Those are the kinds of organizations represented on the alignment team. And then 2 weeks ago, we held a family/community forum in town. It's the largest that I've seen in a long time, and I've done this work for more than a couple of decades now. More than 60 people showed up on a cold Monday night to participate in the January 27th event. And in subsequent meetings, we'll share with you the ideas that came out of that meeting. So the process has started. Oh, I left off the students. We've met with students also. I think 49 students, 24 high school and 25 middle school students, I believe. So that should be on this list as well. And we have other sessions planned for them. So the effort to engage the broader communities, it's in full swing. When we're done, the plan will consist of 3 main parts: clarity about what we want for students, clarity about what needs to happen around instruction so that more students have access to quality, effective instruction, and then clarity about the infrastructure that we must put in place so that instruction can proceed well and more students can be successful more quickly. So these 3 components really define the output that you can expect us to help produce. And Megan, they have samples of the plans, correct?
Yes.
I thought will give you a chance to look at some of these sample plans from other districts. The one on the screen, these 3 on the screen happen to be Federal Way, which is in Washington State, North Kitsap, also in your state, and Yakima, places we've worked in recent years. But each one of you should have some samples of some plans. Take a couple minutes, 2-3 minutes, please, review them. And if you have any questions or suggestions about what you like and what you don't like, I'd love to hear from you. And then we will continue after your comments. So look at those samples, please.
There's 2 different versions. One is you're looking at as like a full plan that is sort of the long version of the plan. And then you're seeing a couple of the other ones are kind of the snapshot kind of plan on a page, or it's like a 4-page that kind of covers the highlights. So I think you have both those versions in front of you.
Yeah.
And we will have, and Performance Fact will provide that for us too, a long version of this plan. And then we'll also have kind of a shorter version that we'll be able to share.
Thanks for that, Kevin. Yeah. You have the one we call the Reader's Digest version. That's a 4-pager. And then you'll have a full version, as Kevin said.
Is it possible for us to like take these home and then give you feedback, Megan? Because I'm a processor. I need
Definitely.
time to, like, there's a lot here. So maybe that's a good thing.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Unless, does anyone have comments they can give Megan right now and me too?
I think in essence, these initial are just sort of what you can expect that also kind of the completed kind of project is. So I think it's not necessarily, again, some feedback around what do you want to see in this plan, I think will be helpful as we continue to move through this process.
Yeah. One of the reasons for showing you different plans is except for the 4-page plan, which every district gets a copy of, the longer plan, we will work with you to shape what makes sense. They intentionally different. Yakima had a lot of detail in theirs, for example, and Federal Way had only a 16-pager. Yakima had well over 20 pages. Kansas City had well over 60 pages. So we'll work with you to flex the finished product to what fits your context.
So at what point will we be getting into the specifics of like the goal areas and kind of the report?
In about a minute and a half.
A day and a half?
A minute and a half.
Okay.
I'm gonna share with you what's been done to date.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Any other comments about what the finished product could look like, please? Feedback.
Anyone have comments?
Okay,
Jill?
thank you.
Jill?
Too early.
Okay,
Too early.
Too early. We'll get you comments.
thank you. It's great. Okay, so I want to switch next to just showing you the work that's been done. It's intentionally in rough form because we want you to be aware of the process that we're going through. There's no part of this plan that's final yet. And what we do is to work with one team, take that team's output, keep it in our back pocket, allow the next team to tell us what they think, and then we show them what the previous team did. And then we take it to the next gathering of folks. Again, we don't show what's been done first. We let them do their own thing, and then we show them what's been done. So it's by design that we have not polished the work because the conversation is going on. And I want you to get a feel for that. What I thought I'll do is give you an update on two parts of the plan, the portrait of a graduate, and also the goals and measures of student success. The portrait, as you probably know, is one way of articulating the Townwater community's vision for what we want for our graduates, what we want them to know, what we want them to be able to do, what we want them to be like, the kind of people we want them to be, especially as we prepare them for a world that's rapidly changing and it will remain even more so in the years to come. And in coming on with I thought I'd share with you this also, the top 10 skills that businesses around the world anticipate for 2027. This is a report by the World Economic Forum based in Switzerland. And the number one skill is analytical thinking, number two, creative thinking, and so on. And you see it's a mix of cognitive skills, some self-efficacy skills, some technology skills, and some what they call working with others skills. So keeping this picture in mind, we can now look at what the planning teams have said up to this point, specifically for Tumwater. So when it comes to the portrait of a graduate, the blue column is the work produced by the core planning team, the team that is most diverse. The red column is what was produced by the teachers, the teacher team. And they did these independently of each other. Oh, can you see my screen?
No.
Oh, no.
We can see your face. We can.
Thank you. I have to do a new share. Sorry about that. Kevin, thanks for saying something.
There we go.
Yes.
Thank you. We can see it now.
Thank you. So you can see the portrait of a graduate. We work first with the core planning team, and we ask them if we could articulate what our students should be like and we have no more than 5, we call them qualities, what would we want those qualities to look like? All right.
Can you make it a little bigger?
I sure can. I was trying to make it fit on one page, but
I think they want to be able to read it, so.
how about that?
Yeah,
That's
it's better.
great. Thank you.
Okay. Well, let me walk you through the 5. This very first draft on the 21st of January. The core planning team said we want them to be responsible community builder. We want them to be critical thinkers, curious creators, etc. When the teachers did that, the second column, the red column, is what they came up with. And I'm going to leave that on the screen. Let me know when you want me to scroll.
You can scroll.
Any observations you care to share?
There's some overlap. Interesting. Who is the first group? The core planning
The
team?
core planning team is the blue, and the instructional focus team is the red.
Okay. Any other observations?
Yes, please.
So this represents what we would like our portrait of a graduate to be. Okay.
That's correct. The qualities or essential traits that they should possess. And this is a working draft. Okay. Then when they came back today, we gave each team the previous page, and we said, now let's do a second rewrite. And you can see the edits that were made. So for example, what's in green is what they settled on, what the core planning team settled on between 8 a.m. and 11 a.m. this morning. At noon, we brought the teachers back and we showed them what was done between 8 a.m. and 11 a.m. And this is their feedback about what the morning team said. And that's how the process evolves. By and large, they're not too far apart on the main ideas. They have differences of opinion about what to call certain things and slight differences in language. But the 5 main ideas of responsible and empathetic community builder, and the other 4 are fairly common across the 5 teams, across the 2 teams. Is there anything that you will expect to see that you don't see yet?
Anything? Nope.
Okay, thank you. Great. So that's the first part of shaping what we want to, what the outcome for our students ought to be. This is our vision for them. Then we say, now let's make that vision a little bit more concise by setting some goals for our students, goals for student success, and defining some measures. So we took them through an exercise using a database where they, through consensus, no voting allowed, they defined 4 goals for student success. Goal number 1 and goal number 4, I sometimes describe them as the bookends, very much like the bookends for the bookshelf behind me. Goal number 1 is about a strong start for our students in PK through 3. Goal number 4 is a strong finish for our high school students, so they're ready to graduate, ready to rock and roll, as I like to call it, tongue in cheek. So goal 1 and goal 4 make up the bookends of the 4 goals we have. Then between those 2 bookends, there's one goal, goal number 2, that is the social emotional development goal. And there's a second goal, goal number 3, that's the academic goal. So the 4 goals they came up with, which are aligned to the portrait that I shared earlier on tell a story. Strong start, strong finish, well-adjusted, happy, engaged, empowered, safe kids, and then the academically proficient student. Those are the 4 goals. And each of those 4 goals has some specific metrics. And these are the metrics that will make up your dashboard, the indicators of progress that we will track over time to figure out how well or how closely we are achieving the goals that we set out. So portrait, goals, measures, define what we want for our students. I'll leave this on the screen.
These were also edited today, and so they're still working on these, both groups. So I think this was what they started with today, right?
Yes, and this is the 2 side by side, and then they started editing. So 2 different starting points coming together, merging into one.
So my comment is I really like the goals and the indicators because they're very clear and specific and related to, educational outcomes and such that we have been talking about a lot. So I'm really glad to see that in there. I like the, the pipeline approach of like focusing on the strong foundations and culminating with graduation and post-secondary experiences. The one area, though, and that's why I was kind of curious about the portrait of a graduate, if it's primarily the vision, is there are a lot of things that are in there that are phenomenal elements that we want our students to know and understand, be global citizens, whatnot, but there isn't really a direct link to the measures here for that. So that was part of my question around, like, the in-between, the theory of action of, if this is what we want our graduates to know and understand and be able to do at the conclusion of a Tumwater education, what then are the actions and activities that would align to that vision, and then how does that directly link to the specific measures that have been established here? Because I think the measures cover academics very well, but there's quite a bit more in the portrait of graduate that is less measurable.
Excellent point. I want to go back to the PowerPoint. Thanks for raising that question. I wasn't sure we'll get to that today, but I'm glad we're there. Mm-hmm. When it comes to the theory of action, give me 1 second. Okay. The analogy we make is to have us imagine that we want to build a house, and we can build a house on only 4 foundations. We need 1 foundation that's about teaching and learning. We need 1 foundation that recognizes that schools can't do it alone. 1 foundation that's about investing in people, and 1 that's about making sure all the pieces come together. So we offer these 4 criteria as a way of thinking of the architecture of our strategies, which I believe is what you were referring to. Then the planning teams, the Tumwater teams, took these 4 plain English criteria, and they came up with academic language for them. And what they came up with, I think it's in the same slide. I'm going to do a new share.
Uh-oh. Who's back?
Yeah. So these are the 4 components that they came up with. Do you see my screen with the 4 pillars? Kevin, do you see the 4 pillars?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we see it.
Okay. So what they propose is that we get really good at differentiated and culturally responsive instruction, strong relationships with families and community, shared responsibility for results-focused collaboration, and a culture of excellence and accountability. So these are the 4 building blocks that they proposed. And then for each one of those building blocks, they now say we're going to use the same building blocks for all the goals, but what we do depends on what the goal is. So for goal number 1, strong foundations, these are the 2 strategies that this team recommended. It's not finalized yet, but they approve culturally diverse resources for pre-K through 3, differentiated curriculum, and so on. And each of the goal teams came up with similar with corresponding strategies for their goal, but all of them are built on the same foundation. So it is these 4 ideas that unifies everything we do in our education system. But how we implement, or what we implement to show differentiated and culturally responsive instruction will be different from for strong foundations versus for goal number 2 or goal number 3 or goal number 4. But all of them are premised on the same 4 building blocks or 4 pillars. Does that begin to answer your question, please?
Yes, very good. Thank you.
Thank you. I didn't think we'll have enough time to get to. They got a lot of work done in 2.5 days. This is moving very fast, and I've been very, very impressed.
Any other questions? No. Do you have any more slides? Me too.
No, that's really all
Okay.
that I have for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mutu.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, have a safe flight.
And good luck with your deliberations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
So a couple other follow-up pieces for the public and for the board is on our main district website at the very top, there's a link that says Strategic Planning 24-25. There is analysis of our student data that we took about 3 months to gather. It's a 35-page document that talks everything from our kindergarten readiness to our K-12 learning and engagement, our educational attainment, like 4-year grad rate, and our students' access to high-quality curriculum and instruction. And then you'll also see all of the work that the people have done in the sessions, their handwriting, their posters, their notes, their quotes, everything that the parents said and the community members said at the ASHO dinner night. That is all like a running record, and that is called Work to Date, so people can go in there and read that. And then I'll keep the board updated on our next steps of January, February, March, and we'll wrap up the first week of April.
Thank you. Any questions for Megan? Thank you. This is exciting work. So now we'll move on to public comment. Before we begin, I'd like to remind members of the public that if you wish to have addressed the board during public comment during this meeting, you would have needed to fill out the public comment form available on the district website by noon today. If you miss the opportunity, you are welcome to sign up for the next regular board meeting, which is in 2 weeks, or email your comments to the board and/or superintendent. Contact information is on the district website. Becky, I know you received submissions, so I won't even ask that question. So this is what happens if you've never done this before. Becky is going to have the timer there. You have, like Vanna White. So as soon as that goes off, I'm going to gavel you and you need to be done because we will be done in 30 minutes. If you go over time, you're taking time away from other people. So again, if you don't get through everything, then email us. You likely have written it down, so just email that to us and be respectful of the other people that are speaking after you. So Becky, can you start with the first person?
You can move.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening. I'm Kristen Maring. I've run Fresh for 9 years, serving 300 youth in Tumwater, maybe more. We were established as a partnership of the City of Tumwater, the school district, and Grub. Our mission is to help struggling students re-engage and succeed. In data pulled yesterday, nearly 90% of Fresh students go on to graduate. This is incredible because when they arrive, up to 80% are not on track. Students come to my program worn out, not believing in themselves, not to mention failing classes. Many suffer poverty, depression, addiction, homelessness, poor mental health, yet they leave Fresh more successful, more prepared, and with greater agency to forge a positive future. Without Fresh, will these students drop out? What is the plan to support the students who need it most? Students from all 3 high schools run the Fresh Farm just down the road. This farm has provided 13,000 pounds of food for our community since COVID, including students, families, seniors, and the food bank. Students in the Fresh Summer Program can earn money and job skills. I built Fresh to be sustainable because struggling students need a place to land. Fresh is that place. 2 years ago, Fresh was $40,000 in the black. An additional $75,000 grant allowed 585 students to see outdoor science at the farm. Last May, plant sale grosses $10,000 a year, and the city gives $10,000 a year, plus student FTE and CTE funding. Despite these numbers, budget shortfall is the reason to cut Fresh. Much of summer program is grant funded. The district took money out of Fresh and has not taken adequate action to get grant funds reimbursed. This makes Fresh budget look bad. For the grant, State of Washington RCO is standing by to reimburse another $42,000. The district just needs to provide them paperwork. If the district needs money, why not take these steps? I'd like to know for Fresh, what exactly is the shortfall? Why cut the program which yields results, gets kids to graduate, feeds our community, and brings money to the district to support these efforts? I'll never forget one of my star students, so bright, so hardworking, so dedicated. She was supposed to give a speech to City Council, and I suggested we invite more people from her school. She said, "Oh no, Kristen, everyone thinks I'm a bad student." She was not a bad student. No one had believed in her yet.
Thank you. Thank you, Kristen.
Good evening, everybody. We know staffing is the greatest expense for the Tumwater School District. The cost is an investment in the growth of our Tumwater students and community. School districts cannot operate without staff who provide the educational programs and support for students. Program and staffing decisions made by the board and the district are value statements which impact students and the community directly in very real and tangible ways. The district website states, quote, "Each day our staff of just over 800 employees carries out our mission to provide continuous student learning in a caring, engaging environment. Our academic focus is to help each child succeed by setting achievement goals and then using data to closely monitor progress and adjust instruction. To do this, we encourage and support staff collaboration and professional development. We strive to create a safe, supportive environment in which all students feel connected and valued while they grow academically." End quote. The district cannot accomplish the mission and focus as stated by reducing staffing. It takes dedicated staff to provide continuous student learning in a caring, engaging environment. The reduction of programs and staffing in the district will negatively impact the ability to monitor student progress and adjust instruction. The reduction of programs and staffing in the district will negatively impact collaboration and professional development. The reduction of programs and staffing in the district will negatively impact student safety and support. The reduction of programs and staffing in the district will negatively impact students feeling connected and valued. The reduction of programs and staffing in the district will negatively impact the ability of students to grow academically. These impacts will be felt in devastating ways at every school within the district. That is why we, the Tumwater Association of Paraprofessionals, Tumwater Office Professionals Association, and Tumwater Education Association presidents urge the board to decline reduction in educational program resolution number 2 and search for other ways to balance the budget. Staffing is the greatest expense for the Tumwater School District. Staffing is also the greatest investment in our Tumwater students and community. We stand before you today in solidarity and together as we rise jointly in opposition to the reduction of programs and staffing in the Tumwater School District on behalf of the employees of our 3 associations. We are the Tumwater community, and our community for years has been defined upon our public schools. It's the core of who we are. Reducing staffing reduces our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Don Brewer. I've had kids in the school district since 2009. My comment today is this: I support establishing safe, fair, and equal opportunity for biological females in the Tumwater School District, in classrooms, bathrooms, and on any court, field, and track where they compete as student athletes. I want to make it crystal clear that my support for biological females is not perceived as opposition to any student athlete who identifies as transsexual. Over the last 3 years, my 2 daughters have communicated their discomfort due to their perception that going to the bathroom was not safe as a result of biological males identifying as female being allowed to use the female bathrooms. However, due to the controversy surrounding the issue and the perception that one marginalized group is being favored over another, we have remained silent for fear of being accused of bigotry. As the Basketball Boosters president, I have a pulse on the feelings and beliefs of many parents. Parents want to know if it is the belief of this board that the beliefs and feelings of one category of student are more important than another. It wasn't that long ago that protecting the physical and mental safety of biological females was of utmost importance in order to create fair and equal opportunities in academics, athletics, and the professional job market. It is the opinion of a large portion of families that the feelings and beliefs of the Tumwater girls who decided not to play last Thursday are just as important as the trans athlete who decided to play. Parents also want to know if it is now the policy of the TSD to not recognize the physical and biological distinctions between biological males and biological females that have been known by science for centuries. A study that was completed by the U.S. Military Academy identified 120 physical differences between men and women. The average female soldier is about 5 inches shorter than male counterpart, has half the upper body strength, and 34% less muscle mass. It is because of these differences that distinctions and standards were established for biological females in order to provide safe spaces so that they could thrive, compete in a fair and equal environment. Please clearly communicate the policy of the Tumwater School District regarding the inclusion of biological males in the safe spaces dedicated to biological females. Let us know if you are going to begin the extreme practice of investigating students who are accused of misgendering and then classifying it as harassment, intimidation, and bullying. Please let us know so that we can make decisions as to where we think our daughters and granddaughters will have the best opportunity to thrive and succeed. Thank you.
My name is indeed Dale Reeves. I've been teaching for 37 years, in which 30 years at the Tumwater School District. I want to bring your attention to an unjustifiable termination practices by the Tumwater School District and help the school board become more effective and efficient problem solvers moving forward. No one can deny the value of co-curricular activities in sports and education, the value they bring to all our students. I want to share my experience that happened this Tuesday at Black Hills High School with an impromptu meeting with Director Bromley and Assistant Superintendent Rarich at Black Hills. I was brought in, I was told I'm immediately dismissed or let go of my position that I've held for 27 years at the activities coordinator and director. I asked the immediate question, why? The response was restructuring. I said, who's making the decision? They said, the team. I said, what team? They didn't include any names. This is a huge red flag, and it doesn't show transparency. The next question was asked was, the administration certification process is the most common process around the state, not in Tumwater School District. We have a huge history of amazing activities directors and athletic directors, okay? Doesn't happen here. We have great staff. Next question, teachers cannot evaluate other teachers in supervisory roles. In the history of Tumwater School District, that is not the case. I've been doing this thing for 27 years. I know other people that have doing it many, many other years, and it's always been a supervisory role while teaching. These are not true facts, and this is provided by our district office employees, okay? So my question is this, in reflecting on this experience, not one of us, and this includes myself, the athletic director at Tumwater High School, activities director at Tumwater High School, and the athletic director at Black Hills High School, not one of us was contacted once, not once. Nor were any of our principals contacted, asked for input. That is sad. Not one of our students was asked for input. That is sad. That is not best practice. And our district office should be held accountable. And I would expect Director Beard ask some questions, because that is not how we treat people and family. Continuous learning in a caring and engaging environment. That's not what's happening at our school district.
Thank you for this opportunity. This is a fantastic district. I want everybody to understand that it's hard to watch what's going on, and that you can't put a finger on it, but you have a pulse on it. There's a lot of people who do a lot of great things. I listen to Dale Reeves. Dale Reeves and I came at the same time. I see what people do in the community. I see what people do in the schools. I think what we need to understand is that there's a lot at stake here, and my heart goes out to the people who are losing their jobs. It's not an easy position for the administration, but I just ask for people to be transparent. I think that's the one thing people are asking for. Like I said, it is a tough situation. The board's in a tough situation. The community is a very supportive community. Don't ever underestimate the support and unwilling support that this community gives to us, the board, the administration, or schools. There's not a better community in the state of Washington than Tumwater. I want everybody to understand that. We are aching right now, but I hope we all can look at this and try to figure out what's best for everybody. But that also takes transparency, and it takes time, and it takes compassion. I want to thank you, the community of Tumwater, for being the community you are. Without you, we are not us. I want to thank the board for listening. I want to thank Mr. Bogadin for hearing me. And I want to thank you all.
I've never done this before, but I'm here on behalf of Fresh.
And
Into the mic.
give us your name, too.
My name is Kayana. Is this a good spot?
Yep.
Okay. Learning you have a voice is very eye-opening. When people can hear that you want to make a difference, it tends to make them want to listen. Fresh shows that kids have a voice. They take what they have learned and they fly with it in such a positive way. Instructors are teaching kids how to become young adults and how to become better people. Some of these kids come from disadvantaged and broken homes, and they are products of bad relationships. With their environment in Fresh, it changes these kids' lives. It is incredible to see how much they can change just from a singular program. I've seen some kids come into this program with not much light or joy, but once I see them complete the program, I've seen so many be able to smile again, to be happy, and the differences in their moods, attitude, and outlook on life is just in just the first few weeks. It's an incredible thing to witness. However, whenever these kids come into Fresh, they leave wanting to graduate, stop the addiction, stop looking for the acceptance from others, and start to believe who they will be becoming in the future. Before I joined Fresh, I was going down the wrong path, and I was using drugs and everything from doing pills, smoking, and even drinking every day for months. I would never participate in my school or in my home life. I was failing multiple classes and thinking I would never graduate high school when I knew my entire life that's all I wanted to do. I've always wanted to graduate high school because I'd be the first person in my family to do so. And after Fresh, now I will be graduating an entire year early in my junior year. During Fresh, I had the opportunity to witness so many different kinds of people who have completely different stories and backgrounds who have changed my life forever. These experiences and skills that I've gained from the Fresh program have already gotten me super far in life. Without Fresh, I believe kids would never understand what it means to be held accountable for the agriculture, learning to love strangers without having any sort of backstory or opinion on them, and having trust in others and in the process of the unknown, having the will to learn about something you might want to take with you for the rest of your life. I've gained the confidence that I never knew was a thing, helping me make friends, but also leaving people that I know that wouldn't be good for me in the future. Coming to that conclusion, I've learned that when you open and apply yourself knowingly that it won't always 100% go your way because everyone has their own needs and wants. And I know that mine might not be the top priority, but with that, I think there needs to be a great consideration about keeping the farm open as long as possible for the future generations to come to help and make a positive difference in their lives and in others and in the community itself. And thank you.
Good microphone placement?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Hello. My name is Ezra Lynn Fife. I'm a certified teacher and a paraeducator with the Fresh Summer Program. I am here for the students who have participated in the Fresh program in the past and for the students who will hopefully be able to participate in it in the future. The Fresh program is unique. It teaches students how to plant a garden, how to take care of the soil, how to tend for the plants. But more than that, students learn how to take care of each other. This type of community building program is integral to growing minds. As they learn to be farmers and entrepreneurs, Fresh students build confidence and resilience. I was able to watch students who would never think to stand up and talk in class gain the confidence to ask questions, share ideas, and collaborate with peers. This is no small feat. I had the honor of working alongside students as they harvested crops to share with their neighbors every week in the Fresh market stand, to give back to their community. Just an example, in 1 week we harvested over 50 pounds of cucumbers. Providing alternative programs like Fresh is how we can contribute to a stronger future. It's how we can provide our youth with the building blocks for collaboration and compassion, which we so desperately need right now. Funding programs like Fresh lets our students know that we believe in them, that we support them, and that their voices are important and heard. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. I'm Pete Komet, former mayor of Tumwater and father of 2 graduates of Tumwater School District. You know, I was involved in helping create the Fresh program, and I'm really here tonight to ask you to reconsider cutting that program. You've heard some of the stories already tonight, so I won't repeat it, but I'll just say, you know, when we started this program, I was thinking, well, this is sort of a summer employment program. And we'd give them tours of various facilities around and maybe inspire them to think about a career in public, you know, service and government, because we're having trouble finding employees, frankly. As you can tell, this program is way more than that. It's really given kids confidence and the ability to handle many difficult issues. And bringing that paycheck home during the summer has brought respect from their families in many ways. It's made a huge difference in many kids' lives. You know, one kid in particular, I remember coming back and after being in the program and coming back the next year for the graduate cohort and just saying, I wouldn't be here, I wouldn't have graduated if it hadn't been for this program. I think there are very few school programs that you can say directly impact the ability to get graduation from, you know, increase your graduation rates. And I know that's an important measure for you in terms of your success. And so I just ask that you, as you look at your cuts this evening, think about all of the impacts, not just on graduation rates, but all of the other benefits that this program has had over the years. City has invested a lot of resources in it as well. So I think it's just a tremendous program, and I hope you'll think about keeping it going, because I think it's incredibly important for our community. Thank you.
My name is Georgia Hellings. I'm a 10th grade student and FFA vice president who attended this year's Fresh summer program and is currently attending Fresh school year at Tumwater High School. This speech will be about how Fresh has impacted me, what it has done for students past and present, and what it will do for future students if given the chance. I always felt like there was a role for me in a leading position, but I never would have had it in me to give myself a chance if it weren't for Fresh. When Fresh introduced leadership positions through FFA, I felt comfortable with everyone in the program, enough to give it a try. Whereas if Fresh had not so warm a community, I would have not believed in myself enough to try and become the vice president. Every year, a new Fresh community is built, and many students in the same position as myself have the chance to open up and develop deep bonds with their peers in a way that no other program could replicate. From the teamwork built by the demands of the farm to the days in the classroom where everybody shares amongst each other feelings and opinions they might have never been comfortable with sharing in a traditional classroom. Fresh is also a program that provides additional credits to students who need it, for students who might have felt trapped by the bounds of a traditional school day and who couldn't do it the way their teachers expected them to. It is much the same for me. For last year, I was struggling to keep up with the workloads my teacher gave me, but when Fresh cut it in half, I felt in control again, and now my grades are better than they have been in a long time. Having Fresh taken away would mean many future students will struggle with their grades, their work, and conditions in a traditional classroom. Without Fresh, many future students won't be able to make up credits. Without Fresh, many future students could never have the opportunities presented by this program. Without Fresh, many future students may never find their passion for agriculture. Without Fresh, many future students who could be great leaders may never realize their potential. This is why Fresh is so important. It is a key part of many people's lives and has influenced where they may go later in their careers. Fresh could mean the difference between graduating and not graduating. Please hear my words and take this speech into consideration before finalizing the decision. Fresh is something that shouldn't be lost. Thank you.
Well, that one person, is there another, that one person wasn't here? Okay, but there are other people on the.
Oh, sorry.
Gosh.
I think she's asking if we can have the 11th person speak.
Yeah,
Is there-
there's another. I'll look up who that is. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, that'd be great.
I'm a student at Fresh. I go to Tumwater High School, 10th grade. I joined Fresh during the summer of 2024. Going into it, I didn't really know what I was getting into. I didn't know the community. I didn't know anything about anything. I was also very shy. I wasn't prepared to be around people. But as the first week in, everyone was so calm, and the 3 people that had been there before the pickles were very welcoming and showed us all around. They showed us how to settle in. They were very welcoming, and they made it a very calm and very comfortable place to be. And then when I started the school program, the first day was a little bit awkward, but I saw people that I knew, and it wasn't that awkward because I was around people that I was comfortable with, and I knew I wasn't going to get judged by. And then within the first couple days of school fresh, we got close with all of the other new students, and we all became really good friends. I have a good bond with all of them, and to have other students have the same opportunity that I had to come out of my shell, to have a chance to change and be a better person, to have that loss would be really hard to watch, because I know for me and my peers that it has been a tremendous change in my life. It's been a big impact. It's helped me out through so much. I'm doing so much better in school. I can focus, and I know that I'm going to be okay and that I can graduate. I was struggling with school. I still do struggle some, but I've been way better, and Fresh has helped me tremendously with that. And I think other students deserve that opportunity just like how I did and the rest of my peers. And they deserve to have the chance to have a community where they are welcome and they are heard and they are seen. That's all.
All right, thank you, everyone. Now we'll move on to action items. So Ben Rarick, Assistant Superintendent, will present the Reduction in Educational Program Resolution Number 2, Resolution 082425.
So as he makes his way up there, I wanted to just start tonight before we turn this over to Ben. You know, this is 18 months on the job, or a little bit more than that. I came into the Tumwater School District last year, knowing that there has been some financial concerns. I had watched 2 years ago the budget, this conversation at the board level around budgets and making sure they're watching things, and there was ongoing conversations about monitoring ending fund balance. They ended up staffing at a 98% level. So I came into the district last year knowing it's like, all right, we need to be watching our financial situation, and kind of along the way, it's like kind of promising messaging that we were getting around enrollment, around finances, around ending fund balance, enough to prompt us to look at curriculum adoption process. And we hired some staff in needed places throughout the district. By the end of last year, towards the end of last year, probably March of last year, some of the financial information coming and just started presenting quite a few questions. Ultimately, diving into some things, we made a pivot and starting to come to a realization that we were on a path of spending considerably more than what we were content bringing in from the state. We ended the year having to do a budget extension. We came into kind of the full end of the year that kind of Ben has come into, and we had to end up taking a resolution to borrow $7.5 million to cover expenditures from the last school year. So the situation I walked into wasn't nearly what I anticipated. The board became aware of this towards the end of last year. There were some conversations about why aren't you making immediate staffing reductions? You know, and this is a conversation in April, May of my first year as superintendent. And I think the message I gave to this board at the time was, I need to fully understand this. That I've been meeting with our representatives, and I am in alignment with DJ around, you know, people and our staff are the heart and soul of this. We don't do this work without our staff. And so again, also it's like, gosh, this has been an up and down roller coaster of finances. So I wanted to make 100% sure that the information that we have is accurate. So we weren't going to make any drastic changes as we come into this school year. And I think I told this board, you know, we're going to have to, like, let me get the facts. We're bringing on some excellent people who are going to dive into this, and we are going to have to make a course correction as we figure this out. It's gotten to a place today. January, we are now cash negative, so we actually have to borrow cash to pay this great staff that we have. So we had to borrow from ourselves to be able to do that, I think probably for the first time in Tumwater history. And so the situation, the financial situation, is much worse than I even anticipated coming in last year, and finally uncovering it towards the end of last year and into this year. And when staff make up 85% of our budget, it is all about people. It is all, we do our work through the people of this district. This is the last thing I want to do in my second year on this job, is to sit before you and recommend staffing reductions. I hear and I appreciate our students being here. I appreciate the compassion. This is not an easy process, and that we do not have staff that I can just like easily wave a wand and just like we can do without these folks. The sad reality is we are not funded for the staffing that we have, to the tune of at least $4.5 million. So that's just to break even. And now we've ran our kind of bank account into zero, and we'll get more information from Ben about that we have to borrow, and that isn't a sustainable practice for us. We have to have money. I'm sure our staff that are here want to get paid on a monthly basis, and so we need to be able to kind of rectify that. So that's really, this is all difficult conversations, difficult decisions, and we are here to be transparent and share this information and how we've gotten to this place. And again, I think we want to be open with this, where we've gotten to today. But again, I just want to recognize that this is not an easy process, not easy decisions. I appreciate the advocacy. I appreciate that people are here and sharing their concerns. And I echo the concerns around the state of Washington funding public education. And I am there fighting for you on the legislative side of things. I wrote a letter to our Legislative Ways and Means Committee today on 3 bills, and this week fighting for additional funding for this school district and for all students of Washington. So we are continuing the fight, and it is something that, again, a really, really difficult situation for this team, for this community to be in. And it is, again, not to point fingers and blame, it is a situation that ultimately has taken some years to get to, but we are committed to doing this and building a positive path forward. And I'll leave it at that and turn this over to Assistant Superintendent Rarick and give you a little more details and provide some context.
Thank you. Good evening, board members. I will be presenting to you on Resolution 082425 in your packet, and I believe you have essentially three documents. You have the resolution itself. You have Exhibit A, which is an indication of the positions of non-renewal for next school year. Again, I want to emphasize the point I made at the last board meeting that none of these are in effect immediately. No one was told that they would be immediately dismissed or summarily dismissed. This is all as it pertains to the 2025-26 school year. And you also have a summary memo in your packet explaining some of this. I'd first like to, for those that are new to this conversation, bring everyone up to speed of where we're at in this process, as the superintendent and the board have been working on this since late September, when the superintendent communicated to the entire community and implemented mid-year cuts on an October 11th memorandum to all schools and departments requiring 10% cuts. And then through a series of workshops with the superintendent and the board, the district was directed to prepare structural reductions for the budget for next school year. It also became evident in the fall that the district was going to have cash liquidity issues. We started working on that literally almost as soon as the school year started. And what you see up on the screen is the latest information we have about cash in the bank. Everyone in the audience can relate to this, even to the students, in terms of you have a personal bank account, and it's not all that different for a school district. And so the month of January, as predicted, is the first month that we are literally cash negative. So what does that mean? Everybody's probably wondering, well, as a person, if I don't have any money in my bank account, that means I can't pay my bills. Exactly. In your case, you would probably have to go get a payday loan or seek a loan from somebody. That is what the school district did. The school district used a mechanism in law to be able to loan money from money reserved for capital projects for the purpose of allowing the district to meet its month-to-month obligations. And so that is what is happening right now. So as you'll see, starting in January, we expect the district will continue to be negative through February and March of this year. The annual spike that you see in April is when the district receives its property taxes, and then a slow decline into the summer. So we expect to be negative this month at least through March, potentially through June. At this point, we are projecting to end the year positive, but that also is not a 100% guarantee. This has all put the board in a situation of having to set some early and difficult budget parameters for the 2025-2026 school year. And many of you may have joined the board in their January 9th budget work session, in which they chose between three options in terms of the extent of the cuts, the reductions, and the ultimate goal of these reductions in terms of a timetable for fiscal recovery. That meeting occurred on January 9th, and shortly thereafter, a series of budget principles was established, and the superintendent was tasked with working with his team, which is us, to develop reductions that hit those targets. And so here we are today. This is the second resolution that is responsive to the board's charge from January 9th. If I can provide a brief overview of the exhibit itself. Several board members before the meeting asked for an update of where we are at in terms of the relative savings of resolution number 1, relative savings associated with resolution number 2, and where that puts us in terms of our overall target. So it's my intention to do that now. So resolution number 1 represented approximately $2.5 million in total savings, $2.3 million of which was for the listed staff positions. $210,000 was associated with the recommended COLA freeze for staff next year, and an additional $115,000 was associated with the pay cuts for administrators, the furloughs. We're not adding that to this number because that's a one-time number and ultimately not a continuing number, but that is also part of resolution number 1. This resolution, resolution number 2, comes to approximately $3.9 million. And so when you take the savings of resolution number 1 and number 2, our anticipated reductions in non-salary areas, and then accounting for cost increases in the current year, the net result of these actions is $6.54 million, which puts you right about exactly where the board discussed option B on January 9th in that work session. Couple of clarifying points. One of the things that the board emphasized during the budget principles discussion was trying to keep cuts away from the classroom, trying to have a sense of proportion about where these reductions came. That manifested in a couple ways. One was starting in the central office and support services. That's where the work started. Actually, the work actually started with the non-salary reductions in October. That was the first action. The second action was the central office reductions last month. But here's one way to think about it. So if you went to the state's website today and just looked up what percentage of the overall Tumwater budget is associated with Activity 27, which is teaching, that would be about 57% of the budget. The total cuts right now comprise about less than 35% of teaching. So in proportion, those reductions are not quite half of that percentage, but close. And so there, you can see that there is evidence of the fact that the board tried to keep those cuts as far away from Activity 27 as it could. I'd like to go over a couple of the highlights from the exhibit itself. There's a couple things from the exhibit that might sort of on its face not be intuitive, so I want to make sure that for the interest of transparency that people understand what it means. A, literally none of the positions listed were summarily dismissed. Nobody was given notice on a day that they were fired or anything of that nature. In fact, all of these pertain to the next contract period. And in fact, the employees that were contacted this week were sort of walked through the fact that although many of these positions are recommended to be reduced from next year's budget, many of the individuals that hold these current positions may in fact land in other positions in the district, particularly in our classified ranks. That is very likely to be the case. And so it's important to make a distinction between positions and people in this case. There is a listing here of 2 athletic directors, and I think somebody looking at that sheet might think, okay, elimination of athletic directors, how is a high school going to function without athletic directors? That is not, in fact, an elimination of the function of an athletic director. This is a proposal to restructure the athletic director from a full-time teaching position to an administrative position. We are seeking to go to a model that we see as a little bit more common in peer districts where athletics and activities are combined in a role. I understand there's a history in this district where the athletic director title may have in the past taught some classes, might have been part-time teaching. We sort of evolved to a point where that role is a full-time role, and for that reason, some healthy questioning about whether it fits in a teaching contract when they in fact do not teach. That role is not a teaching role. So again, reading it on the face, one might assume that sports are being cut or athletic directors are not going to exist. In fact, that is as it pertains to those roles as they currently exist. The second maybe clarifying point I may make is as to the FRESH program. I'll just say, with regards to that the Fresh program represents both a robust summer program as well as a school year program. Nothing in this resolution pertains to the summer program. That is not what is at issue here. What is at issue here is the school year contract. And so, and you may have further questions about this, and if you do, that's for time, but part of the, there's nothing about this that any of us relish, but there was an important part of this process about class size for all classes. And in some cases, we're asking our excellent teachers in Tumwater to take on larger class sizes next year. Again, not as it pertains to the summer program, but as it pertains to the school year program. The Fresh program, we have been able to sustain very low class sizes in the Fresh program, and that's a good thing. But that is also something that we feel like we can no longer sustain. And we have a different opinion about the funding accounting for or fully covering the costs associated with the program. So by your vote of this resolution, it doesn't mean that there won't be a Fresh program in any form in the future. It doesn't have anything to do with the summer program. It does mean that for 8.5 student FTEs or 17 headcount students, we will not have a full-time teacher, a full-time a classified person, and 2 release periods. That won't be a structure that we will continue with in that program. And I say that because the more we learned about the program, it is very cool. Everybody understands that it's a neat program for kids. They like it. And it would be great to find a financially stable way to continue to do those types of activities for our kids. And I thought the student speeches tonight were fantastic. So. At this time, I think maybe I would push pause and ask if there are questions specifically that the board members would like to.
Could you explain the changes in the MLL?
Yes, absolutely.
Positions?
Yes. If I may, I'm going to lean on my expert colleague here, Dr. Dawson.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I'm glad that you asked this question because creating programs for our multilingual learners is an incredibly important part of any school district. I do have experience running federal and state grants for districts and overseeing TBIP programs in other districts. So yes, we did have to make the difficult decision to eliminate 2 district MLL positions. But looking ahead, I'm excited about redesigning our program. The OSPI director, Kristen Califf, she and I have worked together on other projects, so I've reached out to her, and I want to be sure that when we redesign our program, we're not only meeting state grant guidelines, but we're exceeding the state expectations. And I'm really interested in how we meet and exceed the expectations of our families and our students. Like, what kind of program do they want us to design? And when we do that, we're going to be looking at how do we maintain or enhance the services that our MLL students currently receive? How do we build in professional development for all staff so that when students are in core content classes, they're in programs where language acquisition strategies are used on a daily basis? And then looking at MLL schedules, what courses are they taking? Do they have equitable access to the kinds of classes that non-MLL students have, based off of their language levels? Do they have access to appropriate opportunities for academic success, graduation, and their pathways after graduation? So I just want to thank everybody for their dedication and hard work through this process. And I do want to point out that every staff member in Tumwater is valuable. They do valuable work. We honor their work. This is in no way, shape, or form saying that their work wasn't important. I know that their work is important, and I know that we're going to navigate these changes, and we're going to continue to provide an excellent experience for students and families.
Thank you, Megan. Questions? Go ahead.
So it's been raised several times. looking through these positions, all of this work is important, and we've heard from lots of people talking about the impact with these positions going away, what's going to happen to that work. And so I'm hoping that you all can speak a little bit about what is the plan for where that work is going to go and how that is going to be handled, absorbed.
Yes, I can speak to that a little bit. First of all, Director Bromley and I have spent the greater part of the last couple of weeks going around and trying to meet with the impacted people before they heard about it at a board meeting, and this obviously was a common theme in those conversations. Like, people, obviously it's difficult news to receive, but also there's a lot of affirmation of the value and importance of the role that they fill in Tumwater. And, we wanted to be clear with people that we're not going to be able to continue to do all the work. There is a reality to this, that these people were making valuable contributions to the district, to kids, and you can't just, we have to keep it real that this is going to be an impact to the district. So I'm not going to stand up here and say that all of the work is going to be reallocated and this sort of this sort of staffing impact is going to be made to a district and you're not going to see the impact. We absolutely will see the impact. And that is in part, validating and valuing the work that everybody, all these impacted individuals have done. It's mattered. Every one of these programs matters. That said, there is sort of a parallel process here where we're having to go through and sort of separate out, in an excruciating way, by the way. This is not at all what anyone had in mind for their assignment this year, but to sort of separate out those things that we are legally obligated to fulfill and make sure, and I think Dr. Dawson just sort of alluded to that just now, where to be in touch with our OSPI and ESD regulators to make sure that as we're redesigning some of these programs, that we remain in compliance. But they can't require us to spend more on these programs than they fund for us, right? That's ultimately what we're talking about here. And we're confident that we can do that just because we're in a region where all the other districts are going through something very similar. And so we're not alone in this. Olympia is sort of a little further ahead than us. Yelma's going through it. And they're all having to go through and sort of ask these regulatory questions like, it's, you reduce so far that you're putting yourself in harm's way in some way from a regulatory standpoint. So we're very aware of that and being very deliberate in our due diligence on that.
I'll just add, countless numbers of our staff are coming and saying, like, we see these cuts, we see the reductions, what can I do to help you? And they're offering to sit with us to ask, like, what can we do to help? Where can I take up? I'm willing to take on whatever we need to do. So, this is a group of folks that are resilient and will work through this. And we have a lot of work to do to sort of figure out just what he was talking about. What are the requirements? How are we going to best do this? What are the things that we need to do to make sure that we continue to serve the students, families, and community? So it is work that, though, we will do, and we have the staff that are willing to step up and do that. I'd say it's fairly early, we are in February, so we have work to do to really kind of study that and explore that and figure that out in the coming months.
Any other questions that I could respond to?
Director Taylor, do you have any questions? Do you guys have any questions?
No questions. It's hard to hear through this, so I understand the frustration Ty went through a few weeks ago, but no questions for me.
Will we be able to make a comment later in the meeting?
Yep. Okay. You can do one now, or once we pass the motion, we have a discussion.
Okay.
Your choice.
I have a question. So just a hypothetical, Ben. If we were to even try to avoid cutting any personnel at all, is there any way possible that you could even do that? If you cut every single thing that wasn't tied to a personnel's salary or their position.
Mhm.
Is there, I mean, it's not even possible, is that correct?
I don't believe it's possible, no.
Not even to get anywhere close to that, correct?
No, I mean, and this is a conversation that we have a lot, so just to give you a sense, so the first thing that typically people say is, you know, they look at the amount of the budget for non-salary things and they go, just cut all that, like, you know, doesn't seem all that complicated. Until you start going through the list of what is the bulk of that. You'll remember at our budget work group meeting, at our work session on the 9th, we worked from that list of the top 25. There's 2 or 3 of those that you can really actually, we don't have the option to not pay $1.85 million for our insurance as a school district. We can increase our deductible, which we have already, but we are essentially obligated to be insured as an entity. That's one of our largest costs. We do not have the option to not pay South Puget Sound the flow-through a running start bill, which is also one of our largest non-salary costs. We do not have the option to pay for health care, you know, on and on. Once we got down the list to ones where we felt like, okay, here's a policy decision we can make where we can actually start to influence some of these non-salary costs, were things like we can choose to engage or not engage the services of the Educational Service District. Those can be fairly expensive. We have just spent 2 weeks literally going line by line of every bill they've ever sent us in the last 3 years. And we've cut a good 1/3 of those off and said, we're just gonna have to figure out a different way. We can control how much we spend on legal fees to an extent, and we are down this year on that appreciably. We can, to some extent, we can put limits in for overtime, although some of that is contractual, as I've learned here in my time, which is an unusual thing in Tumwater. So it is not as simple as simply just going to the part that looks like a large chunk of the budget and saying, just don't do any of that and move on. Because many of them are either entirely non-discretionary or there's some shade of essentially, it might be that the alternative is more expensive than cutting one.
One of the things that was interesting, Ben shared a while back that, you know, we're looking at energy costs and like, hey, let's try to save on energy. And actually we've accomplished some of that, but I don't know, basically we've down in energy use, but up in energy costs.
Because energy costs more, but our actual use is down year to year.
So that's kind of a frustrating
That's
place
super
to be.
frustrating.
Yeah.
So you make these efforts and it's still costing us more.
Bus fuel, food for the child nutrition program, we are actually going, you know, line by line, but the expense of these things is up. So even if we're down in usage, we're either flat or up in expense.
And we are looking at everything, and I just want people to know, I mean, we're looking at, you know, I think just recently a list of every copier in the district and analyzing that. And I don't know, we haven't made any decisions about that, but like, what's the cost of that? Can we be more efficient? How do we do that? Let's put the structure together. You know, it's not going to save, it's not in the savings of hundreds of thousands, it's in the tens of thousands. And but again, I know that all adds up. And so we are looking at all of those options as we kind of continue to explore. We're trying to get to some big picture here, and then we'll continue to explore kind of department by department, looking at every cost that we can look at and save.
Any other questions for Ben? All right, thank you. I'll entertain a motion for action.
I move that we approve Resolution 082425, Reduced Educational Support Program.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this motion?
Do I get to discuss now? Or?
You get to discuss now, Jill.
Okay, or do I just make a comment? Which would you like?
Okay,
I'll go ahead.
Let's discuss.
Okay. So I want to thank you all for your comments. I know this is a big, crucial deal for all of us. The unfortunate truth is that there is only so much money. Our district is short $4.5 million at least What is before us is a heartfelt situation. We can't print money, unfortunately. We can't even do that in Monopoly, and life is much harder than Monopoly. For us, money is a scarce resource. That's a comment that my background is economics, and that in many textbooks, that's the first sentence. Money is a scarce resource, and that is very unfortunate because we're all people. We want to do what's best for people. The district is faced with the ravages of inflationary costs, the worst we've had in about 40 years. We're all still feeling that. And the effects of COVID-19 on society. So we still haven't recovered from that. It takes a minimum of 5 years. We're getting close. Now, because of those, and because our enrollment has come in below expectations, our district, we're facing a financial crisis, a real financial crisis. And this is not what I signed up for, but here I am. I'm here to help if I can, but we have to make some very, very difficult decisions that I can't even define, the difficulty of those. Bottom line is we're dependent on money from the state and levy money from local taxpayers. That's all we have. So it forces us to make cuts, and hopefully those can be temporary cuts. We cannot just volunteer to take a cut in pay. I'm a volunteer, I don't take any pay. But most of us here, we need the money to live on, to provide for our families. But unfortunately, sometimes we have to tighten our belt and look forward, and as I say, hopefully that this is temporary, we can move on, and just please know that our first priority is serving the students and our staff.
Any other discussion? Mm-hmm.
All right. So I too wanted to share some thoughts just in response to a lot of very valid questions and concerns about the cuts, and specifically the comments regarding the impact to the quality of the educational experiences and the support that we're going to experience. So as others have stated, like, to be crystal clear, we are fully aware. It's always going to be better to have more people around to provide that support. And this is not unique to school districts. That is the case everywhere, but the unfortunate reality, we only have so much money that we can pay for these educational services that we provide. And so there's kind of, the way I've been thinking about it, there's really two significant factors that throughout this whole process we've been talking about that has contributed to where we are today. The first, again, has been brought up many times. The state only gives us so much money for the things that we have to pay for. Assistant Superintendent Rarick has gone over that in great detail and has spoken several times about the inadequacy of the state funding formula, which is controlled by the state legislature. The other thing that has been going on is the cost of our operations have increased substantially over the past few years. We've talked about insurance, we've talked about MSOC transportation, but I also want to make sure that we understand across the board that the cost of our contracts have gone up. The costs associated to reaching successful agreements to operate have increased. Our personnel costs are higher than they probably ever have been, but definitely than a few years ago. And, you know, as Jill mentioned, our biggest fund driver, students, that number has been completely flat for a course of time, and so we have not received any additional funding to support those increased costs by way of enrollment. So, again, the bleak reality, we don't have enough money. The only route to go is to downsize and then have to do the best that we can with what we have left. Again, not unique to school districts. I've been a state employee for 18 years. I've been through 2 recessions, one of them caused by the pandemic. Massive cuts to the state budget that came as a result of those things. I was fortunate enough to have been able to keep my job, but there were a lot of people that weren't. And we had to kind of watch the degradation in services that went along with that. You know, kind of back to my question earlier, which is, what's going to happen to that work? Well, it's in some cases, it's just not going to get done or it's going to get piled onto other people that are already overworked. So it is just a very challenging situation. And so my point is, we've heard from a lot of people regarding the impact of these decisions and the impact to service and students, and you're right, you're absolutely right. This is going to be difficult to navigate, not only for the people that it's directly impacting, but for those that are left behind, they're going to need to figure out how to do the best thing for kids with the resources that we have left. So the last thing I'll say is that all of your input and voices are important, heard, and we absolutely see you. We definitely see you. We have an obligation to not leave our most vulnerable students behind through this new strategic plan, as well as goals that we've already established and are not going anywhere. That is the expectation of the school board, is that we will prioritize our highest need students as we continue to work through what this future with limited resources looks like.
Thank you. Do you have anything? Director Taylor, do you have anything to add to the discussion?
Yeah. Can everybody hear me okay? Or Melissa is at least
Yes.
coming through somewhat?
Yeah.
All right.
We can hear
thank
you.
I'm with you, Liz.
Yeah, well, first I just want to, my apologies for not being there in person. I'm coming off of a pneumonia and then a back to flu on it here. So probably just better for me to stay home here. So wanted to pass that information along. Good points by other board members about this process and the impact. Some of the, I'm going to repeat some of these, but we're a district in a declining enrollment. And that's one of the reasons as to why we're here. The state funding formula obviously is highly flawed, and it's really important, I think, that we all come together and advocate and really reach out to the legislatures. They are the ones that can make the change here. We can react and move levers and push buttons. But ultimately, that funding formula is flawed. And Ben mentioned some of the things, the insurance being one and other mandatory type things that we have to pay, period. We have to pay Puget Sound Energy to keep the lights on. So the materials and operating costs, supplies, that has gone, those costs are a lot driven by inflation, and I think everyone has a fairly good idea what that's been like over the last couple of years. I kind of wanted to point back to our January 9th meeting. Ben mentioned it briefly, I believe, as well, too, earlier, around presenting 3 options to the board on getting feedback from board members on which option they preferred. There was an option A, option B, and an option C, and I believe most board members were comfortable with B and striving towards C. Options A and B, I need to point out that they were not going, those options don't meet, or at least planned, especially A and likely B, and those don't meet our minimum fund balance policy. And so even with these cuts, we are not going to be able to meet our minimum fund balance policy, and that's going to have an impact in a way. That impacts our bond rating on how much we get a return on the community's local levy dollars. You have a lower bond rating because your minimum fund balance is lower. You're not going to get you're not going to get as good return as you can on those dollars. Same thing for a rainy day, or that's kind of vague, but it's specific to emergencies. So when we got hit with snow a few years ago, that was a huge cost that wasn't accounted for. You can't budget for those things. Transportation fuel, which can change in a heartbeat over a matter of a couple months and just sink a budget. I think just this week we had a water emergency at one of the schools. One of the pipes froze. Little Rock Elementary has been hit with several of these flooding and things you just can't really plan for. And so we chose an option that still doesn't meet our minimum fund balance. And so this is we've tried to spread this, it's a hurt is what it is, and we're trying to spread it out. And so the path that we've chosen, which is, it looks pretty severe. It doesn't get us to that minimum fund balance we want. So I just kind of want to point out some of those other things that are going on. I think Ben and Kevin did a good job of explaining other things. You know, the question is, why aren't you looking at other things? Well, I believe they have. They've checked a lot of different ways to reduce, not in people or positions. And every time that I ask a question, you know, why are we removing this position? Did we consider any of these options? And I feel like I can ask those questions, but at the same time, the options that they present back are, well, they're even worse. And so I think we've done a decent job of trying to spread this around, keeping it as far away from the classroom as possible. But we're not going to fool anybody here. Yes, this is going to impact kids in the classroom, and we're going to just have to figure out a way to get better at this. I'm going to revert back to Rick McGrath's comment around, you know, this is a great district. We can come together and we can get through this. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Taylor. All right, go for it.
Rather than kind of repeat a lot of the same stuff as the rest of the group, I think for me, being the newest board member, this certainly isn't something I look forward to coming onto the board to do and immediately have to come up with these resolutions to have people that are losing their careers. I do want to say that I think it's really important that the people continue to come up and have these conversations in the public forum here and continue to email the board. And I think I really appreciate, and part of the reason why I joined this board is because I'm from here. I have a passion for Tumwater too, and I hate to see so many people hurt. But you know, it's a strong community. I've lived here for most of my life. I know a lot of the people that are affected by this. We'll get through it together. It'll be hard. I hope that, you know, I'm holding out hope that something amazing happens so that things can be adjusted a little bit, and that as many positions don't have to be replaced, but or programs cut or those types of things. But yeah, I feel for everybody involved and affected by this, and I know that we've got some really intelligent, hardworking people behind the scenes that are crunching every number that they can, and unfortunately, there's just no way to avoid some of these cuts and these changes that we have to make in order to spend less money than we're bringing in. So I appreciate everyone's comment, especially the students. Thinking back, I don't think there's a chance that I would have come up here and speak publicly. So for anybody that does that, my hat's off to you. That's amazing. Really cool. So.
All right, this is a problem going last because everyone has said almost everything that I wanted to say. And you took my last one. I thought I'd be able to thank the students, but I'm just going to thank the students again for speaking. But everyone has kind of said it, but I'm just going to say them by name. Superintendent Bogatin, Assistant Superintendents Rarick and Dawson, and Director Bromley. I think I've spent a lot of time with them in the last couple of weeks. Kira, I don't know your title. Assistant Director Acker? Kira Acker. Director Acker. All of them, I've spent a lot of time with them in the last couple of weeks, and I have full confidence in the work that they're doing around this work. I appreciate the passion that they have put into this and the caring that they have put into this about their fellow employees in this district. I know it's hard. I understand that those conversations have been hard, but they've been really leading with their hearts because they care about this community. And so I just wanted to say thank you to all of you people because I spent a lot of time with you. I know that it's hard to make these decisions, but I know that you've done so thinking about students. So thank you. Is there anything else before we take a vote?
I would just say one other thing as the newest member again, just I think going forward, it's like Kevin said earlier, there was we didn't really know what was going on with the budget before, last year, before my time here. There was some numbers that people didn't know, and Kevin did a really good job of hiring some really good folks to straighten up the books a little bit and get us some corrected information. And I look forward to, once we do get past this, being able to put together a budget that we can stay on and being able to have numbers that we can count on and that we can avoid ever having to be in a situation like this again.
Great, thank you. All right, now it's time for the vote. All those in favor of approving Reduction in Educational Program Resolution Number 2, Resolution 082425, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And Casey votes aye as well. All those opposed say nay. All right, the resolution passes. So now, with no further business coming before the board, the regular meeting is adjourned at 7:59 p.m.